hit that like, subscribe. Let's go talk about it.
That's my baby. That's my baby.
We're going at it at 110%.
I just want 5 minutes of happiness, please. Just give me 5 minutes.
And they scored. They did it.
Left, feet left.
What the hell was that?
Oh yeah. What the fuck are you talking about?
Yeah, what's going on, fam? Welcome to a brand new edition of the Hockey Happy Hour, only on A2D Radio. Brian Daly, Rob Povia, that other way. That way. That way? There we go. No Mass and Sudi tonight. Oh, geez. The Lord knows where the show is going to go. But, yeah, so Hockey Happy Hour brought to you by Body Check Wellness, which is a line of products that promote wellness, balance, and recovery using a full potential of hemp. They come in extracts, blends, gummies, and topicals. Use promo code A2D for 20% off at bodycheckwellness.com. And when Riley Cote joins us on the Hockey Happy Hour, you can get an extra 40% off, not extra, but 40% off of your orders as well, only when he's live with us. Hockey Happy Hour is also brought to you by, check out Dr. Paul Vidal at Specialized Physical Therapy, LLC. 2 locations in Burlington and Cherry Hill, New Jersey. He's our doc. He's my doc. Make him yours. It's definitely worth going to. He's done wonders for my shoulder. Feels 100 times better than it did before. Feels a lot stronger. So go definitely see Dr. Paul if you're having any aches, pains, anything like that. Also, many of us in our families deal with mental health and addiction issues. We are happy to support the Counseling Center and Sunrise Detox. If you need any kind of mental health help, therapy, or addiction detox, please don't hesitate to call 856-651-8117. Tell them Tom and the boys from A2D sent you. It's better to get your help now than before it becomes too late and becomes too much of an issue. Please, if you need the help, definitely go out there and get it. What's going on, Rob?
Great day, opening day. I got one question for you, Brian. How can you not be romantic about baseball?
I need to know. I'm ashamed of myself. I should know where that's from. I should definitely know where that's from.
I'll give you a clue. We were talking about Oakland before the show.
Okay, I got you. Moneyball.
Yes, sir.
It's such an underrated movie.
Really is.
And I'm not a big Jonah Hill fan, but that's such an underrated movie. But I feel you. Especially when you have, and I know, unfortunately, your Mets didn't get a chance to play today due to COVID issues with the Washington Nationals. But getting to see the Phillies play today and how they played their game and how well the pitching staff came through for us, it's tough to not love baseball. And I'm not a huge fan of the extra inning setup, but Phillies got the win. That's the important part.
Yeah, it's all it counts, especially when it's beating the Bravos. I like that.
Oh, I love it. Especially when they're one of the top teams in baseball and they are the favorite to win the division. But we are not a baseball show. We are definitely a hockey show. So tonight we got a lot to talk about in a small span of time here. We're going to break down the Flyers recap from the week starting from Saturday the 27th with the win against the Rangers. And we're going to break down some trade rumors, which I hear some interesting ones out there. Rob, you and I talked the other day about it, and I brought up this name, which I'll throw out there in a little bit. But let's start breaking it down. We got the game on the 27th against the Rangers. Big 2-1 win behind Moose and that defense. Big win. Big time. Big one to pull out. Just coming off a huge spanking against the Rangers a couple days before, which I believe was 8-3.
Yeah, so Saturday night, 8-3. They came back and squeaked out a win against the Rangers 3-2, and then they had to take it to overtime to beat the lowly Sabres. But at least you're compiling points against teams that you need to compile before you hit this next week, which is going to be an absolute shit show. Islanders, Boston. Say goodnight, Gracie. Good night, Gracie. To the fight, yeah. I mean, especially, we'll get into the last game. Certainly, I don't want to overshadow your point, but that's how the breaks go.
Yeah. Sometimes it is. It's how hockey goes. It's a game of bounces and getting some luck to go your way. Unfortunately, the Flyers have had very little luck going their way, especially the last month. It just seems to be the same problems over and over again with this team. And, I don't want to point at the players completely because they're not all to blame. They're the most to blame, but they're not all to blame.
Oh, certainly not.
I mean, repeating mistakes after mistakes after mistakes and the inconsistencies, I'm starting to wonder, Rob, that it's becoming more of a coaching issue than it is anything else. And we definitely know that there's personnel issues out there, but I mean, what do you think? Do you think maybe AV is or should be on the hot seat?
100%, man. I'm so glad you fed me this question because I'm going to answer your question with a question for AV. So let me break this down first. So you got Oscar and Patrick, and they're just starting to find their games again. Oscar's starting to put the puck in the back of the net. Patrick's playing a good forechecking game, getting in front of the net, putting some goals up himself, right? Then they play poorly for 2 periods against Buffalo, which, where's the consistency? Doesn't exist in Philadelphia. But that was in game 1 of 2 against Buffalo this week. So AB decides to bench them to play the Vets, who had a great third period against those same lowly Sabres when they were obviously sitting back on a 3-0 lead. So my question for AV is, where's your head at? I mean, where's the logic? I don't get it. This is the best example of what I talked about last week, that a lot of poor coaching decisions based on not knowing your personnel is coming out and biting the Flyers, putting them in poor positions. And the players certainly are not blameless here, one iota. But a lot of the blame goes there. And, I mean, obviously from Chuck Fletcher, nothing's going to get done about this during this season. They're going to waive it to the, shortened, the hockey's truncated season from the pandemic, right? But the worse this plays out, these rest of these games, in the offseason, he might be looking for a new residency. All I know is I'm starting to understand what some of these Rangers fans were warning us about when we got AV.
One Brad Ryer comes to mind for me when it comes to talking about AV and giving us some kind of a warning on how he was. A lot of the things I'm hearing about, man, and it's starting to really show up, is the first year you have AV, the system really works. Everybody's clicking at the same. It really plays out really well for the teams, and there's a lot of success. And we saw that earlier last year with the Flyers. Then we have that little break with COVID. And they have that great round robin tournament where they essentially went, like 3-0, 2-1, something along those lines, wound up winning the first seed of the playoffs. And they get to the first round. And they play Montreal.
Yep.
Struggle to beat a bad team. Wind up winning the series. You move on to play the Islanders. You lose the series in 7 of some really hard-fought games. But you notice as that series tends to go on and as this season has gone on, the system doesn't seem to work. There's a lot of breakdowns. There is, mainly in the defense, there's a lot of lack of communication between the players on defense. There's generally no support on the back check or the forecheck. Guys aren't really battling for loose pucks. It almost seems like these guys, I was saying it last week, play with no heart.
Yeah. I mean, look no further than one of your classic vets that you were relying on last game, and Jake Voracek. In both games during this Buffalo series, for lack of better words, you saw him trying to hang out in the neutral zone to cherry pick a pass for an offensive rush instead of playing the trailer, which this team, has notoriously, religiously not done this year, keeping 5 guys on the one side of the boards in game 1. And then 2, I mean, I know I'm a little old, but I think I could have skated faster on that back check. Honestly, I would not be disheartened if they did not protect Voracek for this expansion draft or even try to move him, because I'm done with Jake. He's got this attitude, he wants to tell off reporters. Well, guess what, buddy? You kind of got to do something as an athlete in order to carry that swagger, that brashness in the press room. So back it the fuck up. That's all I'm saying.
No, absolutely. Some of the comments rolling in here. We got Prism saying, let's go. What's up, Pris? Pete Evans saying, yo, fam. What's going on, Pete? You can catch Pete on Birds of a Feather right before us, and he shows up randomly at a couple other places. Pris agrees with you 100% about your little rant about AV. Jake Friel chiming in saying, I don't know how we go from here, from the season we had last year to be to where we are now. I can't answer that for you, Jake.
I can. It's hockey. Hockey is different that way, man. When you get on a bad swing, I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, you see this in football too. You see it in some other sports too. You see the euphemism quicksand from a football movie, The Replacements. And it's no more so in the game of hockey. It is when you lose that momentum and you lose that confidence, just like JJ said, you could, or I believe, no, it was Jonesy who said you could tell when a team's not confident when they're looking to pass instead of looking to shoot, you know, and it's very hard to get that back in general under normal times in an 82-game season, let alone when you're in a jam-packed season and you don't have that time to take a breather. This is not a mentally strong team. That's why this season is eating us alive, unlike last year, Jake, right? But this is temporary, and I understand that. That's why I'm not jumping off the cliff. I'm not jumping off the freaking Walt Whitman, right? These guys will get better in their progressions. Carter Hart will be better. That's why I'm wearing his jersey tonight, because I support my goaltender through thick and thin, right? They're going to – yeah, I do have all the movie quotes tonight. I'm too old for this shit. Anyway, but like these are fixable pieces. It's just hard to do it in this truncated season.
Agreed. Tom Arno, what's up, Tommy? Saying fire somebody. We got Poop chiming in on YouTube saying, yo, fam. Not sure how I feel about that name, but
you don't even have to fire AV either, right? To do this, you don't have to run him out of town, right? I said this last show. Fire Mike out. He's in charge of our special teams, which have been dog shit. That'll send a message.
All season.
Yeah.
Pris says he's addicted to A2D radio. I can't see anything wrong. There's nothing wrong with being addicted to A2D. Oh, no. Ralphie saying, what's up, fellas? What else we got here? Prism says it is underrated, referring to the Moneyball quote you threw out there. Bull Durham is arguably the best sports movie, in my opinion. I love Bull Durham, but Field of Dreams, baby. I can't shy away from that. Tommy saying Fat Lady is sung. Brian Wilson, you can catch on Agree to Disagree with Tommy, saying, what's up, boys? Also goes on to say, Ghost has been absolute dog shit and definitely deserved to be put on waivers. Well, we'll talk about it a little bit later, so I'm going to tease it a little bit here and say there's apparently a move in the works, which is why Ghost was waived in the first place.
Yeah. I mean, dog shit's strong. I mean, he has brought back his offensive presence. You know, he's skating a lot better. He's obviously healthier. Has there been times where he's been beaten like a rented meal? Absolutely. But there's also been times where he stepped up and he's been very inconsistent. That's still not good enough. You know, if you're not consistent, you're not reliable. So I get that. But this waiver, this was part of a strategic plan more so than an exact commentary on his play. But it is because obviously it's going to cost him money. And, you know, if you're not, if you're not performing fully up to snuff, you know, that's the nature of the business.
Absolutely. Wills goes on to say, however, everyone has struggled so much that you almost have to look at AV struggling.
Right.
So.
Right. Exactly. And everybody's struggling. You know what I mean? It's going to put the microscope on each individual player because, you know, where's the support? You know, They were asking that during last game. You know, I believe it was Hartz. He was asking where, Hartnell, was asking, where's the support? You know, it's not that these guys don't care about each other. It's not that the chemistry is not there in the locker room. There is. You can obviously tell that when Sam Moran scored his first NHL goal. By the way, that happened since we were last on. Congratulations, Samuel Moran.
I didn't realize that was his first NHL goal either.
Yeah.
So that was crazy. I was baffled by that on Saturday, and I was like, wait, what?
Yeah.
There's no way that was his first. No, it was his first. I was very sad.
And they went nuts, you know, so obviously the chemistry's there or whatnot. Like I said, it's the mental toughness, you know what I mean? And that's when you got to look towards your vets. So I get like what AB was trying to do last game, just not effectively, in my opinion. But when I'm saying mentally weak, I'm actually talking about more the veterans than I am the rookies here.
No,
Or
absolutely.
not rookies, but young players.
A lot of the times, especially with a guy like AV, he's a little bit tougher on his players than most. It's tough to play with a guy like that, especially when you're younger, just coming into the league. Sometimes those guys can really break you down mentally, and it's hard. It's really hard to play for a guy like that. I mean, you see it in Columbus. You see it with Tortorella. Tortorella's a very good coach, and he's won plenty of games in his career, but he's tough to play for. A lot of guys don't like playing for him because of how tough he is.
Sure.
Well, I'm thinking maybe that could be an issue too. To answer Colin's question, if you fire AV, maybe you make Michel Therrien the head coach. He's got plenty of experience. He's got plenty of experience in Montreal. He was a long-time head coach there. Had a lot of success. Never won a cup, but he had a lot of success there. Prism saying Pove is on a soapbox preaching the gospel.
Testify. It's kind of in the plan of hiring, like, Mike Yao, for that example, has had, former head coaching experience, but God, no, please don't go that direction. But that's why you do that, because, you take a shot on AV, and if it don't work out, you got other experience behind them. You know what I mean? And who knows? I mean, a lot of fool's gold that we got last year could just be motivation for him looking over his shoulder. And, that's not a good place to be for a long period of time. I mean, on the ice, there should be good competition. But, I don't know so much about behind the bench. But I don't know. Maybe he can get some fire under his ass.
Yeah, Will says, no, I'm not trying to run him out of town, but he needs to be better, and we need to be better in general as a franchise. And there's no better way of saying that, because it's the absolute truth. Tommy said, where'd that go? Where'd that go? I lost it.
Disappear.
There it is. Quit on the coach. Quit on the coach, it looks like. It does look like it. Like I said, these guys, they just look like they're playing with no heart, and it's not a question of whether or not these guys care for each other, because like Rob just said, look at how they reacted to Sammy's first goal. They were all thrilled for him. They were all jumping on him, and
look how they came out last game. I really like the energy that they brought out in that first period. They get down by a goal, and then they put their head down like, oh, poor us.
Mm-hmm.
Feel bad for us. And that's when the sharks circle, when there's blood in the water, blood on the ice in this case. And, then it goes down 2-0, and then you see the lack of effort. With Carter, that's a big thing. I think him and AV do have beef. Because, or maybe, I know Martius has been highlighting how he's no longer seeing a sports psychologist, but that goes back to the bubble. But, the strain might be getting back to him, you know what I mean? That might need to be readdressed in his own, personal life. But back to the ice, in regards to Carter's effort, the last time we saw him, a lazy kick save, because obviously a wide open guy, like he's like, all right, D, you're not going to play, I'm not going to play either, and then that's a very counterproductive, place to come from.
Absolutely. And AV even came out and said regarding that same thing that Carter's practice habits haven't been good.
Right.
So, I mean, I don't know if that's necessarily because his confidence is shaken, to Wilson's point here, saying the defense has destroyed Carter Hart's confidence, and that may be the biggest problem with the team. Mm-hmm. And maybe that brings up a solid point, is maybe nobody's pushing him in practice, and so he's gotten lazy.
Right.
And, Kim Dillenbaugh, the goalie coach for the Flyers, apparently has been working with him, and I don't know where to go from here as far as Carter goes. If he's showing bad practice habits at 22, which I get it, he's a 22-year-old kid still.
Yeah.
But one of the things that was highlighted about him coming up and the hype behind him was he's a workhorse, and his work ethic. So my question is, what's going on in this organization right now that his work ethic is starting to flounder a little bit?
Well, yeah, he's listening to the media, to social media, to maybe reading a little too much or whatnot, and it's real easy to get in your head. But I don't care what age you are, any athlete's going to go through a rough patch. It's not about how low you go, it's about how you come out of it. And based on what you just said, that's why I had to fire this out, with that work ethic that he's been known for at every level. This is his biggest adversity he's gone through in his career. he's been a winner everywhere, and he's not sure how to handle it right now. You got to go through it to get through it. You got to get through it, and that's the advantage of his youth, that he has the time to do so. And obviously, from listen to Fletcher talk, he's going to get the patience in the world here and not get run out of town. No matter how bad some disillusioned Flyers fans want to see that happen, comparing him to Carson Wentz, it's apples and oranges here. You can't compare.
Absolutely. Eileen Pompey chiming in saying, "Good evening, gentlemen. How are we all doing?"
What's up? What's up?
Doing good, Eileen. We're doing good. We're doing good. Jimmy Flaw on YouTube says Penguins are now 2 points behind Tampa for most points in hockey.
Yeah, they're hot.
Does that include the fact that the Islanders just won today too, or is that excluding that? That's my only question for you, Jim, because I know the Islanders smashed Washington 8-4 tonight. Smash. Greg Milakovic chiming in saying, "What's up, fellas? We suck and it's pathetic."
Caps, Islanders, and Penguins are all tied with 50 points right now.
Oh, nice.
Wow. Nice. That's crazy.
I knew it was getting close. I knew they were all close. Greg says, "We suck and it's pathetic." Agree, Prove about Jake. If you're going to talk shit, back it up. He also goes on to say, "Oh, yeah, I hate quicksand too, Shane." So, who likes quicksand? Wolf says, "I hate Voracek." He's had me blocked on Twitter for half a decade. I'm not really surprised by that one, Wilfs. Eileen loves my hat. She says, "Go Phils." Thank you, Eileen. What else we got here? Eileen saying Bull Durham is her favorite baseball movie, and Wilson comes out and says Field of Dreams and Bull Durham are top two. If I got to go top two, Field of Dreams is definitely my number one. Maybe The Natural is my number two.
Oh.
I love the Roy Hobbs story.
My man. I've had a fantasy team called the New York Knights for about 11 years.
Bro. Tommy saying inconsistent for sure, which is the 2021 Flyers as well, which it's been the story for the last year and a half. What else we got here? Jim says Penguins are 11-2-1 in the last 13. So looks like the hiring of Ron Hextall has definitely helped this team. I don't know what moves he's made for sure off the top of my head, but he's leading them in the right direction other than grabbing Mark Friedman off of waivers from the Flyers. John Malmo says the season is done. Looking at the schedule of the rest of the season, this team has big issues.
Yeah.
Regardless of the schedule, this team has huge issues, John. And we need to make some moves soon. If they even want to have a shot at even get close to even a wild card spot. John also says, "I've watched him in juniors and winning Canadian Goalie of the Year twice. Whatever is wrong, it needs to be addressed. If that means coaching, then find the right guy who will be there." He also goes on to say, "Can't keep changing coaches every 3 years."
That's true.
I agree.
I thought about that too when I formulated this opinion, that you got to stick it out eventually and ride through the tough times. You know what I mean? So, that's why I'm not calling for the man's head, but I don't know. I can still question his decisions. Gosh darn it. There was another question there about Fletcher. I think I want.
It's good to critique. Okay, let me see if I can find it. Colin said, honest evaluation on Chuck Fletcher.
Yeah, a big thing I was scared about with Chuck, he's a smart hockey man. He came in and I liked what he did right off the get-go. It kind of changed me around a little bit because my first impression was, this is a GM come from the Minnesota organization that really just thrived on mediocrity. Is that really what we want, just to be a mediocre team, right? And kind of seeing that from this off season into this season, and I know it's weird times, so I was trying not to hold too much of a flame to him, but the Eric Gustafson signing is classically horrid. And we're seeing that right now, especially when there was. I get you were limited in what you could do, but you could have made a play for Torrey Krug. You could have made a play even for. I don't think they could afford Pietrangelo, but at least make a play for him. Maybe even Tyler Toffoli, who is having a great season with Montreal. I know I'm going to bring it up every opportunity I can. Now it doesn't help replacing the D-man or whatnot, but that is just an unforeseen thing. one thing I never thought I would have to question with this team is their defense based on the talent that they drafted over the past 5 to 6 seasons, right? So, and I've been wanting to say too that, this team's going to miss Niskanen's presence, but, he's only here 1 year, you know what I mean? And with, if you can have a guy like Sanheim or Meyer step up and take that next level, that step in their career, then it's no surprise that our D is Swiss cheese.
Mm-hmm. And to jump over to that is what Wilson said was very upsetting for all of us fans is the D struggling so badly. It has killed Carter's confidence. And it really sucks that it's gotten to that point, because the kid has such a hype behind him. And we've seen him play very almost an elite level. We know it's there. It's like the thing with Carson Wentz. You just don't lose that. You just don't lose that ability. You don't lose that talent at a young age. So I don't know if I said this last week. I know I've been saying it over the last week or so to a couple of the buddies at the hockey store. Maybe it won't hurt for sending Carter Hart down for a little bit. Maybe you strongly consider it so he can get his head straight a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing permanent. Maybe like a week or two conditioning stint, just so he can hit the reset button, recharge, get out of the spotlight for a little bit, get away from the Philadelphia media, kind of hoosah a little bit, and just build that confidence back up. Because I think that's all it is. It's a confidence issue. And we can sit here and blame the defense all day, but we got to critique him at some point too, because his positioning, his vision is not what it was last year, even into the playoffs. He was still playing at par elite level in the playoffs, even through the Islander series, as gruesome as that series was. He just needs to get his head straight. And whether or not it's getting back in touch with his sports psychologist or maybe just taking some time to hit that reset button down in Lehigh or, whatever. He's got to hit that reset button. I think once he does that, I think he'll be okay.
Yeah, he's got to go home and go play some pond hockey with the boys. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Some shitty hockey, as Hartnell would say.
Hockey.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Just go back to the roots.
Instead of shitty hockey.
Yeah. And Wills, you're right, man. Definitely. I mean, that's the big miss is that calming presence when you have that veteran that's been there, done that. These young kids are getting rattled and they don't know, their head's spinning around, their head's going like 360 miles an hour. He was a good calming presence, good leadership that's missing on this team. Maybe we'll talk about how we can address that later on the show.
For sure. And John is pretty much reiterating what I said earlier. And I know, Robbie, you'd agree. This team is lacking heart. Can't watch it anymore. It makes me sick.
Yeah.
And you saw that a lot last night against Buffalo in the 6-1 loss. But before we get into that,
I've been watching the Flyers for a very long time. This is honestly the worst I've ever seen the Philadelphia Flyers play. And that's saying a lot.
Yeah, for sure. But let's jump into the game on the 29th real quick where they beat the Buffalo Sabres in overtime. Game didn't start out that well. Go down 3-0. Playing pretty lackluster in the first period and a half like they always do. Still the worst first period team in hockey. I think they've given up it's got to be close to 75 goals now in the first period. It's getting to the point where it's like you said, Robbie, these teams are, they get an early deficit and they stick their tail between their legs and they just kind of like, all right, well, I guess we're down again. Let's take another period and a half off and I guess we'll try it again in the third period. Like, I get this team was a great third period team last year, but you can't rely on the last 20 minutes of the game. You dig yourself and put yourself in so many holes that it really gets hard to dig out sometimes. And it's what they've been doing most nights. This game the first game against Buffalo was a perfect example. You can't expect to go down 3-0 and be able to climb back out of the hole every night.
Absolutely not.
And they shouldn't have to. But, they can have those games where they can crawl back, but you can't do it all in the third period. And it's getting pretty hard to watch to this point where it's just kind of like, oh, look, third period, they're losing again. What else is new?
It's very apathetic, man. Their play is hugely apathetic. You're spot on. In response to the comment about trading Coots, here's why I think you don't do that. And I get what you're saying, though. You can pull in a nice, you'll fill some pieces or whatnot. He is who I'm looking towards as the next captain of this team. Unless you want to go the defenseman route with Proby. Which is certain, you could go that route too, as he gets older. But I think Coots being in the league for a while, would bring, that veteran presence. I overusing that word this show, but that's what it is. And, his two-way play just cannot be replaced when this team was without him. Now, albeit this is when we were getting a lot of wins. Maybe the Flyers should go back to shooting 12 shots a game and giving up 38. But somehow keeping, the puck out of the net. But, obviously we know that's not going to happen at this time. But during that time, they were giving up so many shots because Coots got hurt 4 minutes into the first game.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So I'd like to see, I'll entertain any offer to see, what you could potentially pull in. But I'm telling you, if it's more for picks, I'm not interested.
I agree with John to an extent. They definitely need to make some kind of I don't want to say a splash move, but kind of like a shocker and really send a message to this team saying I'm done messing around here, guys. You got to play better. This isn't a rebuilding team. This is a team that's built to compete. They are not playing like that. They are playing very underachieving hockey. It's like you said, man, they get down and they're just kind of like, boo freaking who? Like you play a 60-minute game, you're playing only for 20 minutes. And the games you do put forward the complete effort, you're playing well. I thought they played pretty well against the Rangers on Saturday night. You got a 2-1 win out of it, or Saturday afternoon, I should say. You got a 2-1 win out of it, and Elliott looked good. Like I said, they were supporting on the back check, the forecheck. They were supporting each other, period. They were winning puck battles. They were winning puck races, which isn't like them. And they put together a really good effort. And then you get to that game on Monday or Tuesday, whatever day that was, and back to normal. And you get to the next game where you lose 6-1 to Buffalo and end their streak. And you're right back to where you started. It's the little things that they don't seem to want to build off of. And that's back checking, forechecking, transitions. The transition game has been piss poor all season long, even in most of their wins. They're incredibly sloppy. And some of that has to be pointed at, and I don't want to point the finger at them because it's only been here a year, but you got to start pointing the finger at AV or Michel Therrien or Mike Yao.
Right.
You're at the point where it's, okay, the players keep playing a specific way. Maybe it's not just the players at this point.
Yeah.
Chuck saying, "Yo, gentlemen." Yeah, no, I agree. It sucks, but maybe you got to make that shocking trade. And Priz says, he'd listen to the offers on Coots, but it'd take a boatload to pry. I mean, I would throw his name out there just to dangle him and see what you can get. I would put anybody's name out there right now that will actually have some value and be able to move.
Right.
John says he wishes you could trade Giroux instead and Jake. Well, we're going to have to pay Coots soon.
Yeah.
Which is true. But in that same breath, Voracek just has a tough contract to move, period, at a $9 million cap hit. And you have Giroux, who's got a full no movement clause, and it doesn't want to leave. Priz, and, Kevin Hayes his contract looks terrible right now. He had a great year last year, and it's like, all right, maybe we got this guy for a discount. Or he's getting right where he needs to be as far as money goes. And it's looking like he's overpaid. So there's something going on with this organization right now, and it's internal. What it is, no idea. No idea, but it's really affecting this team.
Might just be an outlier what we saw last year because he definitely played above his career norms, and this is just him coming down to earth. I think it's a combination of a lot of things, when what spoke in the wheel needs greasing, they all sort of clang together, and that's what we're seeing here.
Yeah.
Grease that, grease that wheel, but it's definitely out of whack. I mean, it's tough. You don't want to ever give up on your core, and when it comes to Drew, I don't know even if he didn't have a no trade clause, if you'd want to move him right now, because where would this team be? Like, I mean, don't get me wrong, they're not playing in a great, way, but still 3 points out, not looking hopeful, but still there. Drew's been, one of the finer players in this god awful month of March. You know what I mean? I that's never, I don't know. I was salty when the Flyers traded Richie, and I don't think that's what you do to G here. You know what I mean? I'd love to see an offer, before I formulate an opinion. We talk trades here, and I want to get into that with you too, because I want you to bring that knowledge that you have that you dropped to me on the phone the other night. But
all right.
I'm just going to say, I think if you're going to move someone, maybe move a JVR, who's had success this year, a guy I had want to held on to, but obviously things have changed. Even a Scotty Lawton, who has shown tenacity this season or whatnot. If you want to try to get a veteran D man, in the locker room. Other than that, this is a patience game. There's not something that's going to what's going to fix it? Hard work.
Absolutely. I'm behind that 100%. And Priz said something earlier in the show that, you need somebody who's a little more outspoken, who could be abrasively verbal on and off the ice. And G's not that guy.
Yeah, he even said it in that interview that it was Lawton. And were you going there?
Yep, that's exactly where I was going. Maybe it's just a change in leadership, but I don't know, man. It's tough. You're definitely going to need the hard work to get back into where you want to be. It doesn't matter who it is, but
right.
Boyke Vanessa over on Facebook says, fact, he's right. I'm assuming she's talking about what you were just saying about Drew. I mean, you got to hope that maybe he does waive the no trade clause, because I don't want to see him trade Drew, because he's been one of the best Flyers in the franchise history. He is now 9th all time in points. But I don't know, man. Like, I'm at a loss for words with this organization anymore, and I'm at the point where I'm selling as much as I can. And we have some options. We have some options getting ready to come up very shortly, and one of them I want to talk about here in a couple minutes. I'm assuming Boyke Vanessa is talking about Maddie by saying the fat one, which is kind of messed up, but it is what it is. Mm-hmm. Maddie's off tonight. Maddie has some stuff he had to take care of, so it's just me and Rob running the ship tonight. And yeah, it's I don't know. I'd sell off as many pieces as I possibly can, because you know what? This is actually perfect, because we could jump into a little bit of something else here, because it's not even worth talking about that 6-1 loss, because we know that what that was, and that was a whole lot of nothing going on in that game.
Yeah,
they didn't even show up.
Classic feeling sorry for yourself. I mean, they were strong first 10, 12 minutes of the game. Then they give up the lucky goal off the pants of it was a Braun, and then he has that awful giveaway at the blue line. Block shot, if you want to say that was a block shot, but it was a giveaway. And shouldn't be taking that shot. Ride the puck down the boards. Let the boys work in the corners. After it was down 2-0, they just stopped playing. 100%.
Yeah. Actually, that's a pretty good analogy there, John. Drew is the Bobby Abreu of Flyers hockey. Scores when they're down 5-1 with 2 minutes to go. That's actually it's a pretty good analogy. I was never a big fan of Bobby Abreu, though. Thought he was great at the plate. Thought he was a little too lackadaisical in the field. Everyone said, "Oh, his fielding percentage is 100%." Dude never took risks. He jogged out there in right field. But anyway, that's a story for another day and another show. This hockey show. Love baseball. Although I love baseball, so it's all good. So we're going to jump into Frankie Mayer saying, "Why are you doing this to yourselves?" Because it's fun.
What's that, talking hockey? That's what we do.
We
We
love
talk
talking
all
hockey.
around the league, you know what I mean?
Yeah, we love talking hockey. It doesn't matter what team we're talking about. We love it. That's why we do it to ourselves. It's good to talk things out too. It's good therapy as well.
Yeah, getting it out, venting it out, and talking about it. You know what I mean? You know, talking with the fam, getting creative ideas. You put out things, and you know, lo and behold, we've seen shit happen in this city. So let's go. Yeah,
we have. And if you're new to A2D, Facebook, Periscope, YouTube, don't matter. Hit that like, hit that subscribe, smash it now. Turn on the alerts and make sure you never miss a show at A2D. We got plenty of shows running all week, about 15 total. And, you know, we'll talk about anything with you guys. We got soccer, we got wrestling, we got hockey, baseball, basketball. We'll talk anything with you guys. So hit that like, hit that subscribe. Keep talking with us. We love talking with you guys. So it's a couple Flyers news and notes here. Some good news, which is come very few and far between for the Flyers. Cam York signing his 3-year ELC on Wednesday. And a little bit of good news. He's reporting right to the Phantoms. So that could be a sign of things to come, maybe, with how bad the defense has been. Give him a little conditioning stint down there with the Phantoms, let him get his feet wet a little bit. Maybe you see him. What do you think, Robbie?
I don't know, man. He's so wet behind the ears, but I mean, you know, they are desperate. And it gets to our poll question in terms of Gostisbehere was put on waivers because of Cam York. You know, it did free up cap space to sign him, you know what I mean, to that 3-year entry-level deal so he could get, you know, come out of college, you know, start to get the pro level. We saw Ghost come right from, you know, the Union Dutchman straight to Flyers ice and, you know, had a great start. So I'm not against it, you know what I mean, especially if, you know, they fall further and further back and this is, you know, obviously becoming a lost season. Let them get some NHL experience, you know, utilize the games, you know, for whatever value you can get out of it for next season. You know, that wouldn't be a bad idea at all. But at least now, you know, you got them in within the organization. The fear of getting hurt in a college game is a little bit, you know, less involved there. But for me, did you ever get a quote in terms of how much that 3-year entry level? I mean, entry level deals are usually pretty modest, but I couldn't find what the value was on that.
Probably $925. He probably got the max because he was the first rounder.
Right. Okay. All right. So you can say that, right? So, you know, the hit in salary that Ghost has from clearing waivers, right? You know, definitely, or at least the cap hit, I should say, right? You know, pays for some of that, you know, but there's a little bit more. And I think there's more you can do with this move. This was a very strategic move. So I don't think, you know, it was done, you know, purely for Cam. So I was going to disagree, but I mean, it was part of it. It was certainly part of it. How about you?
I mean, I think you do. I think you give him a couple weeks down in the Phantoms just to get acclimated. Obviously, he's still going to fairly be in playing shape, playing college hockey. I think you do see him because I think you want to see a spark, and the Flyers haven't really done much to create a spark. You know, out in Anaheim, they brought up Zegras and Drysdale, and the team's playing better. They're not winning as much, but they're playing better. They're getting more offensive chances and getting more creativity, but there's a spark there. I don't think the Flyers have done any moves to really create a spark. I mean, they've changed the lineups, but you can only change it so many times before you get back to what you originally were at. You need a spark. You need a change in the locker room. You need something to play for. I think you do see Cam York, and I think you see him in about I'd say about a week, maybe week and a half. That's my prediction.
Really?
And like I said, the only reason I see is you want to try and create a spark. You want to find something to play for, and he could be it. I mean, he's not exactly what they need, but it could be something, and it's something to build off of. And they've had very little of that. So you bring in a guy like Cam York, maybe it sparks the defense a little bit more. Helps special teams out, which has been abysmal most of the year. I mean, they need defensive help. They need stay-home men, which Cam York is not.
Right.
But it's something different.
Glad you brought that up. It is something different, and like I said, I think it's more to my point where, if it's a lost season, you can give him some experience in that scenario, because if you're bringing him to try to turn things around, it was perfect. As soon as I shared, I forget which, I think it was Flyers, this new Flyers group I'm in, Flyers Extreme. It's a freaking awesome group. Keeps on growing too. Definitely, if you're not in it, you should join it. Where as soon as I shared that post, right, about Cam York to signing an entry-level deal from A2D Radio's Facebook page, he goes, "Oh, great, another offensive defenseman." And I hate the negative Nancy's, and Facebook's full of them. You know what I mean? It's like things could be going so well, and they're gonna they're gonna piss on your fucking parade. That's what they do. It's because they're miserable fucks, and they want to make other people miserable. I just don't subscribe to that. I'm too busy. I got a life. I'm trying to hustle it. I'm trying to, make that mark, you know what I mean? But anyway, freaking bottom line is Cam York's not solving it. You got to bring in, if you're trying to solve things, you need a stay-home defenseman that you can pair with some of these offense. You know what I mean? So that way, they can take those liberties and it not cost them so much, because you got that Bundy, you got that Criterion getting your back. And that's what I'd be interested to see if they were looking in the trading market before this trade deadline, trying to, hold on for dear life and somehow squeak up some, or change the culture, as you're saying, Brian, maybe from freeing up the space, maybe now you're a little bit more readily to do it, but you think they're going for somebody else, and it's not a defenseman.
Actually, from what I'm hearing now, there's a defenseman included in this deal.
Oh, really? Oh, I like it even better now.
So the purpose of Shane Gostisbehere being waived, and now he's on the taxi squad, so he can go either way. Does that mean that there's a deal imminent? Maybe. I've been hearing that the Flyers are talking with the Detroit Red Wings for somebody that's not exactly what you'd expect. So a lot of the last couple of weeks, you guys know we've been preaching you need defensive help, stay home defenseman. Jonathan Bernier isn't exactly that, but he is having a quietly good season on a bad team. Now, this, with Ghost being on waivers now and being off the main roster, creates a little bit of room for a deal to be made. But here's the problem. Well, I shouldn't say it's a problem. I should say it's more of a question. What happens with Ghost now? Is he a part of the deal? Are they going to keep him in the AHL? What happens next? But from what I'm hearing, the package is for a couple of prospects and a few picks, and it's just a rumor, for Jonathan Bernier and Mark Stahl.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I was talking Mark Stahl. Remember we were talking that a few shows back? I knew they'd be looking to dish that motherfucker.
Listen, it ain't about just dishing the motherfucker, man. It's about bringing in a veteran leader type of defenseman, and that's what Mark Stahl is. And you'll have him for a year. It's going to be a bit of a cap hit. I believe he's like at about 5.18 as far as cap hit goes. But think about the experiences that he's had in New York. Think about how many times he's been to playoffs, how many times he's been to an all-star game. Worn A for the longest time with the Rangers. I think Mark Stahl would be a perfect fit. He's physical. He battles on the boards. He knows how to keep the front of the net clear, which has been a huge problem on the Flyers defensive side, is keeping guys pretty much by themselves in the slot. He doesn't do that. He'll clear out the front of the net when need be. if you bring in a guy like Mark Stahl, I don't think you necessarily need a Jonathan Bernier. I think you'd be okay with Moose and Alex Lyon or Carter Hart or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that's something that's, and I've been saying this for weeks. I sound like a broken record. I know. That's a heavy, heavy need for the Flyers right now. Not necessarily. Doesn't have to be a veteran defenseman. Doesn't have to be a Mark Stahl. It could be Ryan Ellis, whose name I've heard being thrown around. David Savard, whose name I've been hearing around, and he's flowing up the trade bait chart. Believe he's number 1 or 2 now. He's up at the top. But they need, like you said, Rob, perfect analogy. They need a Chris Therien.
Yeah.
They need a Chris Therien. It's that simple. You want to have offensive defensemen, that's fine. You can have them. But pair him up with a guy who can play defense, a guy who will play back when the offensive defenseman goes up.
Sure.
Like you were saying last week, Rob, Eric Desjardins would be nothing without Chris Therien. He wouldn't be as good offensively without Chris Therien.
Wow. I don't know if I'm going that far, but no.
I'm going to go that far because I love Eric Desjardins. He's my favorite Flyer of all time.
I will tell Roska this just real quick. Remember your point. He said Shane Gostisbehere the Coyotes. No, I think he's going to go to Florida. He's going to go back home and revitalize his career, and he'll be good.
Oh, I'm glad you brought that up. That's one of my bullet points. So we'll talk about that real quick in a minute. But real quick, like just some of the names out there. Is anybody you would want more than the other? Like for me, it's Mark Stahl, no, hands down.
Yeah, I'm more interested in him. I don't like the message of trading for a goaltender. I think that's going to further shatter Hart's confidence right now, which is a very delicate time, so to speak. Like I said, every athlete goes through it, but that doesn't mean like, that's if you want to make a comparison to Carson Wentz, well, that's a better comparison because now, like Wentz's confidence went to shit, when they drafted Hurts, but the difference is Carter's got a sack and, Wentz is a badge.
It's sad but true. It's sad but true.
I'm just glad I could say that and we all agree to agree now. Like, I love it.
Well, I mean, after what he said in his presser in Indy, it's hard to deny it anymore. He's got
the Daniel Murphy syndrome. The bitter ex, the ex-girlfriend, where every time the Colts play the Eagles, he's gonna fucking like ball out for 385 and 3 touchdowns.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah. I'm waiting for it. I'm expecting it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you brought the Florida Panthers, and this is a perfect time to bring this up. So Aaron Ekblad over the weekend broke his leg on a nasty play, out for the next 12 weeks. We also go ahead and at the same time put Antron Strawman on waivers. So you got 2 open spots down there in Florida.
Yep.
I think this is the perfect time to try and trade Shane down there.
Right.
They got 2 open spots. If you can get a couple picks from Florida in return, that's great. That's a win in my book. Because Shane hasn't been playing well. He needs more than probably any player in the NHL right now needs a fresh start.
Right.
He's from Florida. It's his home. I don't think he's from Southern Florida. I think he's from a little more northern, but to send him home back to Florida and playing for the Panthers, who are in desperate need of a defenseman, because you're not going to get Ekblad back this year. Strawman's probably going to be on the move somewhere. If they can move that contract, which I doubt they will. They got to make a move for a defenseman. They're going to be shorthanded. Offensively, they're going to be fine. Huberdeau's been ridiculous, same as Barkov. Who else? Who else has been? I'm blanking on a couple names here. Hoffman's not there anymore.
Sorry, I was looking up where Ghost was from. He's from Pembroke Pines, Florida. Not sure where that is in Florida.
I have no idea where that is. From. I have no idea where that is. Watch it be Southern Florida.
Yeah, the map did kind of chime in around Miami Gardens.
Of course I'm wrong. What else is new?
Hey.
What else?
I don't bring these up to prove you wrong.
I know you don't. But yeah, I mean, the Panthers are in a little bit of a predicament. That's who it was. Thanks, Chris. I don't even know how to say his last name, but it's one of Priz's boys. Vergahe. I don't know how to say his name. He's spelled really weird, but they're overall, yeah. Overall, they're in good shape. They're really adjusting well to Quenneville's system. Just a shame Ekblad got hurt. This could be a good fit. I mean, Joel Quenneville is one of those guys that, he's a little bit tougher, but guys want to play for him. He's a proven winner as a coach. He's won 3 Stanley Cups in 6 years. And, these guys are buying in on what he's doing. And I think it'd be a really good fit for Shane, and it'd be perfect for him to get that fresh start.
Here's what you do: you trade Shane to Florida for 2 picks and Ratko Gudas.
Oh,
that's where he's at now. That's kind of who you need.
I know that's where he is, and I think he's actually the 7th D man over there. He's going to get more playing time for now, at least. Dude's a walking time bomb. It's only a matter of time before he explodes, and then you have to worry about how long is he going to get suspended for.
Right.
Hated that guy.
Yeah.
All right, let's go to another big trade topic right now. Taylor Hall. I hear a bunch of different situations. Carolina, Boston, Florida. I think Montreal was another option for them, for Taylor Hall. And I actually I don't know how true this is, but it would have to be one hell of a trade to pull this off. I did think I heard the Flyers name in there.
Really?
I wouldn't hold my breath on that one. Most of my, we'll call them sources, the websites I've been checking out are, most of them aren't really reliable. A lot of them spit a lot of bullshit, but where could you see Taylor Hall really fitting in that he could actually revamp his career? Because in his last couple stops, he's been very streaky. And currently right now in Buffalo, I think he's really hurting as far as points go. But then again, he's in Buffalo. So, I mean, it's not like it's anything surprising because everybody right now is struggling there, which makes no sense considering how much talent they have on that team.
Yeah, and they are looking to shed pieces for sure. I know Priz brought this up in the chat too, right? Then he was theorizing Calgary, which I agreed with him. I think that would be a good fit. He could be another little piece, on the third line there that can, maybe score some goals for them. For me, I went off the wall and I said the Minnesota Wild. And I think Taylor Hall could do well going out to the middle of nowhere. I'm not saying Minnesota's in the middle of nowhere. It's a very metropolitan city, but not on the East Coast, not on the West Coast. You know what I mean? Quiet place to play his game. He could be very successful there as well.
Thanks, Priz. Showing me how to pronounce Verhaeghe's name.
Nice.
Taylor Hall this season so far has 18 points, 2 goals, 16 assists. So he's doing well as a setup man, but he can't seem to find any finish. So it makes me wonder. Actually, it doesn't really make me wonder that much because obviously Jack Eichel should be that guy who's benefiting from it, and he's not. Sam Reinhart right now is benefiting from having Taylor Hall in his line, having 13 goals, leading the team with 13 goals. So, I mean, for me, Taylor Hall needs to go to a place where he's going to be on a line with guys that can not only help him as a playmaker, but help him as a goal scorer as well. And I don't know how they pull it off, but I have a funny feeling he winds up going to Boston.
Really?
I think he'd be a good fit there. Obviously, you're not going to break up the perfection line, but if you can work it out that you get Taylor Hall and throw him on the second, it's only on a 1-year deal. So you need to just figure out a way to clear up a little bit of cap space. And I think Boston could be a really good landing spot for him playing on that second line with, I believe it's Craig Smith and Andre Kasha, I believe. I believe that's their second line. At least that was the last time I was watching the game the other night.
Yeah, they got almost about 1.4 mil in cap space. Maybe they could squeeze it in, especially since it's, prorated, per game on the shortened season. Oh, no. Oh, pardon me. I'm sorry. That's the projected cap space. The current cap space is actually 4.1 million. So they got plenty of room.
Yeah, so they can figure out a way. Maybe you package a couple younger players that are ready now. Maybe a Charlie Cole.
They got Krejci with Smith and Ritchie currently in practice on that second line.
They must have juggled it since.
Yeah.
Actually, I think you could benefit from having Krejci on his line. Krejci's always been a pretty solid playmaker, and he knows what to do with the puck when he has it. He's pretty good at dishing the puck as well. If Taylor Hall can find a way to put himself in really good offensive position, he could really benefit from playing on that line.
Yeah,
I think regardless, he winds up on the second line because you're not breaking up Marchand, Bergeron, and Pasternak. You can't.
Nah. Perfection line. Fucking gay-ass line, name for a line. Anyway.
Yeah, but they're so good, though.
It's accurate.
Okay, so I was wrong because Kasha
can't say much when they regularly beat your ass.
Yeah, Kasha's on the IR, so it definitely wasn't Kasha. Maybe it was Richie that I saw.
Richie, hey Richo.
Hey Richie,
how you doing?
Yeah, what a way! What we traded the guy away last year from Anaheim, and he goes to Boston and figures it out. Like what the.
Sometimes you go to a new city, man, especially a city rich in hockey history,
Yeah, and they do everything well.
Click.
They could do a lot well in Boston. Another team I could definitely see him going to and fitting in is Montreal. They're a little bit younger, which I think would benefit a trade for Buffalo more than a trade for Boston.
Mm-hmm.
Hang on, let me pull up the Canadians cap here real quick. Of course, I get an ad right now. Current cap space is 300,006 plus, but they also have a little bit more they can move. Obviously, you're not going to move Brendan Gallagher. You're probably not going to move Jonathan Drouin or Josh Anderson. You just got them. Maybe put a package together with Paul Byron and see what you can come up with. Maybe send Corey Perry that way as well. I know his contract isn't huge, but I think with a lot of what's going on, especially with Montreal floundering a little bit, a shake-up and bringing in a Taylor Hall is not going to be a bad thing, especially when you got to compete with Toronto and Winnipeg and Calgary, Edmonton. These teams can score. And Montreal's having a little bit of a tough time keeping up. So you pronounce it Hakanpää. Kuna Matata. Get out of here, Priz. What would you think if they not that he's making a lot right now. Moving on, if you trade Taylor Hall and ask for Jesperi Kotkaniemi in return. Thanks, Eileen. Happy Easter.
I mean, I'd take it. You know who I would want from the Sabres rather than Taylor Hall or Kotkaniemi? Ristolainen. I want that. That's the type of flyer or the defenseman that the Flyers need.
Oh, for sure. For sure. He's big, he's physical, he has offensive upside.
Right.
But he's everything a Flyer should be.
Right.
Big guy, big bodied. He'll battle you in the corners. And then on the power play, he'll rip one from the blue line.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he's not quite Chris Pronger, but he's got a lot of his aspects to his game. He's big, he's tall, he's strong. He plays well in front of the net.
What's this? Oh, this just in. Taylor Hall back to Edmonton. No.
Taylor Hall needs to go somewhere. He's a nice part of the. Well, I mean, right now, it's tough because we thought he was going to be a huge part of the piece of the puzzle for Buffalo.
Uh-huh.
And then Buffalo is being just Buffalo. And it's crazy because I was talking to a guy at the hockey store, and we see the same thing, that for some reason, with all the talent on that roster, Buffalo doesn't seem to know how to put it together.
Mm.
And since we're talking about Buffalo and Taylor Hall, what about Jack Eichel? You think he gets moved?
I honestly, I thought, you know what it is? I think if the Rangers were a little bit more in contention, I think they would have gotten the deal done. But I think the problem is that they want Kaku or Hayes, and that's like on their do not disturb list. You know, they're not moving either. You know, there or what have you.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, I really thought there was going to be a Mika Zibanejad plus picks for Eichel trade earlier this season, and hasn't come to fruition. Eichel has expressed an interest to, you know, play on Broadway. So I could see that happening. Answer your question. Yes, I wouldn't be surprised to see that before the end of the season.
I mean, I definitely wouldn't either, especially with all the Rangers rumors. From what I understand, from what I'm hearing, it wasn't Mika. It was Capo Caco that was going the other way with some picks, a couple first rounders.
Yeah, he was on their do not trade list distinctly for the Rangers.
Really?
Yeah,
I didn't hear that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's crazy. It's crazy to think about, but I mean, this is kind of why I love this time of year. We're about 2 weeks. We're a week and a half out of the trade deadline, which I believe is April 12th. So, I mean, this is kind of like the fun part of the year, especially for me, because I love all this stuff.
Oh, for sure. Getting that extra little piece that you need.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I thought the Flyers fans were the piece that we needed, AV. What happened? Ever since Flyers fans were out back at the well, they suck.
Well, to be fair, they sucked before that. Now they're just sucking even more.
Truth be told.
But, I mean, you're starting to see teams now, and this is what makes this part of the year interesting. Nashville, I thought, was going to be a seller. Now they're looking like they're going to be a buyer because they're climbing into the playoff race.
Right.
Montreal's looking like a buyer. Calgary's looking like they could be sellers. So maybe you see a Johnny Hockey on the move. I mean, there's still rumors floating around there about Johnny Hockey coming to Philly.
Yeah.
Let's see what happens. And then what was the other team I wanted to point out? I mean, Winnipeg. Winnipeg's looking like buyers. I didn't expect them to be playing as well as they are. I don't think a lot of people expected them to be playing as well as they are.
Right.
Especially losing Laine. But it seems like Dubois helped spark that team a little bit. He's playing really well out there, especially, you know, you got Stasny back, and it looks like he's playing a little bit like his old self as well. And their goaltender, Connor Hellebuck, is looking like a Vezina Trophy winner right now, which doesn't really surprise me all that much. But Priz says CAC isn't good enough for Eichel, in my opinion. If it was three first, I'd still say no. Oh, wow. I mean, I would take Kako, but that's just me. All right, Brodo, you in here?
No, Vespi. He's
Vespi?
Yeah, he said he'd be right back.
I was gonna say if it was Brodo, I wanted to have a little bit of fun. I can't really have any of this fun with you guys.
Brodo bailed on us. Brodo, I don't blame him. It's down times, man. See, that's what, you know, the show, I mean, it's doing, you know, people are tuning in when they can. You know, I appreciate it. Thanks, fam. Also appreciate everyone that's contributed to that GoFundMe that I set up for my sister. In case you're listening, you know, and didn't catch wind, my sister recently lost her husband to an aortic dissection. Tragic, just 24 hours here and gone. You know, and with death comes strife. You know, couldn't have happened at the worst time. You know, one kid in school, two kids just about to head into college. So I set up a GoFundMe to help out, along with, you know, what money's obviously the family's taking care of her. So set a little extra piece on the puzzle. But if you could go there, you know, kindly contribute $1, whatever, $5, whatever you got, you know, it all adds up. You know, so far right now it's doing very well. And or even just leave some kind thoughts, some kind words. She reads it a lot every morning. People have been just so great with their messages. really appreciate that. You'll find the link. Our producer will drop in the comments eventually in the on the bottom line as we get towards the show. There you go. Thanks, Frank. Appreciate that. Whatchamacallit, I called it Canella Cares. You can always search for it there or whatever. For my brother-in-law, John Canella, really great man, really great, big loss, tremendous loss for not only her family, but, this world, but really appreciate it. Anyway, what we were talking about right before that, I'm sorry, kind of gets to me a little bit.
No, it's all good, man. We're just talking some trade. I wanted to have a little bit of fun with the Mighty Ducks series that's on Disney Plus right now, but doesn't seem like you were when we were talking about it earlier. You and Frank haven't sat down and watched it yet, so if anybody else in the chat has seen it, just let me know.
This time of year,
dude, a little bit.
This time of year, I if it's not sports, I don't want, I just don't have time. I'm either staring at this computer or I'm staring at players on the screen. It's my TV. I still gotta watch Flash from this week. I think I fell asleep on The Walking Dead. I don't think I finished that.
Well, season finale tonight or on Sunday, man. You got to catch up.
Yeah, I gotta watch that before the season finale.
I can't wait. It's all Negan. It's all about how Negan becomes Negan. I can't wait.
Yeah,
Tell me the backstory. I think I'm probably one of the only few people in the world right now that still get hyped up at the Walking Dead. Like, it's to the point where, if it's movie night on Sunday with my brother, his girlfriend, and his son, they're by themselves. I'm in my room watching it. I can't. You can't take off. But I mean, the Mighty Ducks series has been pretty interesting so far, to say the least. One episode's out. The new one comes out tomorrow.
Oh yeah.
The thing I'm a little perturbed about with the series so far is that Emilio Estevez, reprising his role as Gordon Bombay, came right back to the I don't like hockey and I don't like kids mentality. I am curious to why.
You learn nothing.
But I mean, if you think about it, by the end of the third movie, Gordon's just loves Charlie as a son or a brother or a friend or whatever. He's always there for them. Showed him how to be the captain again, and essentially teaching Charlie to stop being selfish, as he always is. But to go back to that, I hate hockey and I don't like kids. Like, what? Eating cake all the time doesn't. It just doesn't make any sense. I guess I need to watch more of it to make more sense. I don't know.
It's hard when you reboot these. It's always a weird transition. You know what I mean? Because you got to think about it too. You're not in your same mindset that when you originally watched these movies either. So you've changed too.
Oh, I critique these all the time. I critique it all the time. What's up, Jesse? You know me. I've ripped these movies apart. That's my biggest thing is I can't tell you how many times I've watched penalties after penalty after penalty not get called. Julie the Cat cross-checks a couple players. She gets an intent to injure and thrown out of the game. One of the players from Iceland tries to break Adam Banks' wrist when there's no intent to injure, but he gets a 2-minute minor for slashing. What up with that? You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
All right, so before we get out of here, Robbie, just real quick, one final question for you.
Yo.
If you had one player you could trade for this Flyers team, who would it be?
One active player right now?
One active player right now.
Oh, boy. No, I was going to say Ristolainen. If Buffalo's looking to shed pieces, so I will say that. I will say I will say Rasmus Ristolainen, 100%. I mean, too many people are getting free walks in on our net. And we need that type of player that's going to punch someone in their teeth.
Agreed.
So that would be I don't think it's going to happen, but if I were to pick anyone, dream scenario, I like Mark Stahl. If they can get Mark Stahl from Detroit, that'd be nice. even if they want to pull off maybe even a blockbuster and trade some of their bigger pieces, like people are talking about during the show. People are talking about trade Coots, trade G, trade Voracek. Yeah, get Voracek the fuck out of here. Trade him over to Calgary with some other people and bring Johnny Hockey. I like that.
Well, it's actually really funny you bring up Voracek because I probably shouldn't say this on the air, but I'm going to anyway. His girlfriend came into the store with their kid.
Oh yeah,
and I wasn't there. I heard the story though. Apparently, she was paying for their stuff, and as she was walking out, she turned around and saw all the Flyers gear we have set up. And she turned around, she looked right at the kid. She's like, "Look, it's the Flyers." Kid's like, just looking, and she's like, "They suck." Apparently, said it word for word, just like that, with that kind of emphasis behind it. So, and I don't blame you, Jesse.
They told him that. They told him that. That didn't come out of there. Come on.
No. She said it.
Oh, she said it. Oh,
she said it, not the kid.
Oh, I thought it was the kid that said it.
No, I would have been even better if the kid said it. The kid's apparently like 2 or 3 years old.
Like that kid in the Penguins jersey that's become a famous GIF.
Oh, I use that GIF all the time. I love that GIF. Yeah, similar. Yeah. So for me, if I could pick one player right now, that
yeah, definitely lay it on me.
I'm going to go a little out of the box. I'm going to give Dustin Byfuglien a call. See what he's
Byfuglien? Blasphemy.
He's exactly what they need.
Yeah, you're right. I'm not arguing your point. I just don't.
He's exactly what they need. I mean, it'd be an interesting way to go. He's a free agent. You might be able to get him on the cheap.
Hey,
finish out the season.
You got to get PK Subban while we're at it too.
Oh, you can't afford PK.
Yeah, probably
that $9 million cap hit he's got over his head. Devils are going to be lucky if they can move him. Nope. Jesse said, "Yeah, I'd be happy trading Jake, Travis, or some of the aging core guys that are getting the big bucks." Yeah, some of them are going to be tougher to trade than others. You might be able to get Konechny. Jake will be tough. Drew's probably not going to go anywhere. Hayes probably isn't going to go anywhere. JVR's playing really well. You might be able to move him. Maybe send him back to Toronto. That'd be full circle all over again.
Whatever they do, stop putting fucking Farabee on the fourth line. Idiot. AV. Oy, they. It should be OV.
Yeah, you wish it would be OV.
Yeah, right. Not that OV.
Not that
but,
OV.
Yeah. But I mean, it kills me, I get, you got to try to do drastic things here in a funk. You know what I mean? I get that, but you're talking about, who's up there with freaking Austin Matthews and Connor McDavid, a week and a half ago. Now, of course, they took off a little bit into the 20s, but Farabee's another, future leader on this team. You know what I mean? I don't know. It's easy to criticize when someone's trying to do what they can to change. You know what I mean? I don't want to be too harsh on the man. You know what I mean? I like AV. I like his personality. To me, he seems like he should be a calming influence. But to your point earlier in the show, there might be a media AV and a behind the scenes AV where he's like a brash bastard.
No, absolutely. I think they need a little bit more of the brash. And a little less of the media AV.
Yep.
Because they need, like I was saying earlier in the show, they need a spark.
1,000%, Jesse. My point exactly earlier in the show.
Yeah, we were talking about that a little earlier in the show. I feel like we're both a little concerned about that because we've seen it, and especially with the Rangers, it was real evident real quick. And a lot of Rangers fans that we've both talked to, one, Brad Ryer, the Sports Hounds, for me specifically, he gave us that warning, and we're seeing it. But, I don't necessarily think that the lack of success is just purely on him. I think a lot of the lack of success comes from, the personnel as well. and Chuck Fletcher not really replacing Matt Niskanen on the defensive side. I mean, it's all great and well and good that you want to give the young guys a shot, but you need veteran leadership back there when your defensive core is mostly young bucks.
Mm.
So, I mean, you clearly see these guys are struggling back there, and no one's really doing anything. Pris says for the Blackhawks, Coots. For the Flyers, Ristolainen. For the Habs, OEL. I don't think OEL is going anywhere until the offseason. For the Maple Leafs, Bernier. Although I think Bernier might come here because I feel like they'll make that stupid move. If I was moving players to help teams long-term and short-term, I'd hate to see the Flyers lose Coots. Said Coots would be a perfect replacement for Taves, play style-wise. And the Hawks have a ton of pro-ready prospects. Let's find out what's going on with Taves first before we figure out. Because Taves could be back next year. He could be back next week. We don't really know. I would do that. Maybe throw first back, and I would do that for sure. Ian Mitchell's a good stud. Pui Suter showing that he could play in this league. He's been a stud ever since he came up and had that hat trick in his first game. So Pui Suter would definitely be. I would be okay with trading Coots for him.
The only problem I have with trading Coots is that he's one of the feistier guys on this team that, you know, when there's toss and turns and, you know, puck battles in the corner, he really goes after it. You know what I mean? It gets fierce there. And it's like, that's a big thing that this overall team is lacking, you know, and he's a bigger body too. You know what I mean? This team's got to get bigger. You know, as long as they get bigger. I don't know. I wasn't too familiar with those players that Chris threw out there. Are they big boys? Because I want fucking hitters, man. You know? Let's go.
Suter's not. Suter's not. Suter's the scorer. Suter likes to shoot the puck a lot.
With that name, you got to figure he puts the biscuit in the basket.
And then Ian Mitchell is. I'm not too familiar with Mitchell. I know he's one of their better prospects, but I like Pui Suter. I think he could flourish here, and he finally would be, you know, an offensive spark. Hopefully, he's been that for Chicago so far.
Sure.
I think we're going to wrap it up on that note. Thanks for everybody for joining us tonight. Hockey Happy Hour is always brought to you by Body Check Wellness. It is a line of products that promote wellness, balance, and recovery by using the full potential of hemp. They come in extracts, blends, gummies, and topicals. You can use promo code A2D for 20% off your order at bodycheckwellness.com. And when Riley Cote is on there with us, you can get 40% off only when he's live on air with us, which should be sooner than later. Haven't heard back, so hopefully soon.
Yeah, Hockey Happy Hour to talk about right now. Mm-hmm. It'll be a fun conversation.
Oh, I would love to talk to him right now.
A new asshole.
Oh, I would love it. I would love every second of it too. If you're having any aches or pains, some soreness anywhere, go check out our doc, Dr. Paul Vidal at Specialized Physical Therapy LLC. They got 2 locations in Burlington and Cherry Hill, New Jersey. He's our doc. Make them yours. SpecializedPhysicalTherapy.com. Also, many of us and our families deal with mental health and addiction issues. We are very happy to support the Counseling Center in Sunrise Detox. If you need any kind of mental health help, addiction detox, do not hesitate to call 856-651-8117 and tell them Tom or some of the boys from A2D Radio sent you over there. Do not, under any circumstances, hesitate on this one. Everybody needs the help. And it's been really rough, especially the last year or so with COVID and all that. People being stuck without human interaction, and it's been terrible. So if you know anybody, by all means, just let them know. Get them the help that they need so they can live a better, healthier life. And also, we are brought to you by Philly LLC, PhillyDrinkersLLC.com. Go check out, get all your A2D merch there, all kinds of hoodies, hats, T-shirts, show shirts, support specific shows that you like the best, support the station all in general. That's PhillyDrinkers.com, Philly Drinkers LLC. For Rob Povia, which I'm going to get this at some point. My man Pove over here. I'm Brian Daly. Thanks a lot again to everybody who's chiming in. We are the boys from the Hockey Happy Hour. I'll learn to talk eventually.
You sound like my dad when he's trying to pronounce this show. Sorry, Pops. I had to put a little thing on you. A little smile on your face.
I'll get it eventually. Cameron Halabo, what's going on, Cameron? So catch us. I think we're going to be Tuesday of next week. We'll definitely confirm that schedule change. The boys from Lazy Booking are going to jump over to Thursday because they got a special show they want to do post NXT, leading up into WrestleMania. So they're going to have a lot of fun on Thursday night doing their stuff there. So I believe we're going to be Tuesday the 6th next week. Again, I will confirm for you guys. But again, Brian Daly, Rob Povia, we got Frank Vespi on the 1 and 2s. I want to thank Frank for hanging out with us tonight. We're going to catch you all next week. All right. Peace out, y'all.